There is something even more unsettling than failure. It is watching someone become what you refused to become. That is the mirror effect. Your success is not what disturbs jealous people. Your mere existence is, because when you rise, you become evidence. Evidence that discipline was possible, that courage was within reach, that excuses were ultimately a choice. And the moment your life turns into proof, their comfort begins to collapse. Your presence is no longer neutral. It becomes a quiet confession they never wanted to face. Jealousy is the tribute mediocrity pays to excellence. And when they realize they cannot compete with you, they stop trying to surpass you and begin trying to stain you. Most people misunderstand jealousy. They think it is simple resentment. It is not. Resentment says, "I don't like what you have." Jealousy says, "I cannot tolerate what your existence reveals about me." That is a deeper wound, a far more private humiliation, because jealousy is not triggered by your rewards alone. It is triggered by your alignment, your discipline, your structure, your refusal to betray yourself for approval. That is what unsettles them. Not your applause, not your title, not your visible wins, but the foundation beneath it. Carl Jung understood something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Human beings are not most disturbed by what they see outside themselves. They are disturbed by what it awakens inside. Jung called this the shadow, the rejected self, the denied self, the unlived self. Everything a person could have developed but didn't. Everything they wanted to become but abandoned. Everything they were capable of but buried beneath comfort, fear, conformity, or hesitation. And when someone else begins to embody that buried possibility, the shadow begins to stir. This is where jealousy becomes psychologically dangerous. Because the jealous person does not experience you clearly. They experience you symbolically. You are not just a person to them, you are a reminder. A reminder of their hesitation, their compromises, their wasted years, their unrealized strength. So understand this clearly. They do not hate you, not truly. They hate the version of themselves they see reflected through you. You are simply the screen onto which they project their unlived life. This is why their reactions often feel irrational, because they are. Instead of saying, "I am ashamed I betrayed my own potential," they say, "You think you're better than everyone." Instead of admitting, "Your courage exposes my passivity," they begin inventing flaws in you. That is projection. That is the shadow speaking. And this is why the process Jung called individuation unsettles the unconscious crowd. Because the awakened mind does not preach, it proves. So when jealous people realize they cannot outwork you, cannot outshine you, cannot outgrow you, they adapt, and their methods become more subtle. The first move is rarely aggression. It is absence, selective silence. Watch closely. When you struggle, they are present. When you doubt yourself, they are supportive. When you feel uncertain, they are available. But when you win, truly win, they disappear. No congratulations, no acknowledgement, no energy. At first it seems small, almost harmless. But silence is information, especially when it is selective. Because genuine people feel joy when they see effort rewarded. They may not fully understand your journey, but they recognize sincerity. Jealous people cannot do that. Your success applies pressure to their self-image, so instead of celebrating you, they withdraw emotionally to protect themselves. This is not neutrality. It is quiet resistance. They hope their silence will shrink your moment. They hope you will feel their absence and begin to dim your light. Do not. Their silence is not a verdict. It is evidence. Evidence that your growth has entered a territory where comparison begins. If silence fails, they move to reduction. This is the dimming effect, a passive-aggressive ritual designed to make your breakthrough feel accidental, not earned. You will hear it in small phrases. Perfect timing. You just got lucky. Must be nice. Let's see how long it lasts. On the surface, these seem like minor comments. But psychologically, they are not comments. They are correction attempts. The jealous mind cannot allow your success to stand as evidence of merit. So it reframes your achievement as chance. Because if your achievement was built, then their lack of achievement was chosen. And that is intolerable. So they subtract your discipline. They erase your years. They mock your intensity. They minimize your standards. What they call luck is often preparation recognized too late. What they call obsession is often focus they never developed. What they call not that deep is often a depth they are unwilling to explore. Now the jealousy becomes strategic, because once they realize they cannot outdo you directly, they seek numbers. This is shadow recruitment. They do not attack you openly. That would reveal too much. Instead, they circulate concern, subtle concern, performative concern, disguised concern. I don't know. They've changed. I just hope success isn't getting to their head. I'm not saying anything bad, I'm just worried. No, this is not concern. It is narrative seeding, a soft campaign. The goal is not to destroy you instantly. The goal is to create fog around you, to make others hesitate, to make your presence feel heavy, to make people question your intentions before you even speak. Because insecure people understand something instinctively. If they cannot lower your value, they will attempt to lower your social trust. And they recruit weaker minds, not with facts, but with tone. Not with evidence, but with implication. This is one of the oldest social weapons in history. Not accusation, contamination. When they cannot beat your reality, they begin editing your reputation. That is shadow recruitment. This next phase is even more insidious because it disguises contempt as compassion, the performance of pity. When jealous people can no longer deny your success, they begin mourning it. Suddenly, they become philosophers. But are they really happy? That life seems lonely. They've become too intense. I wouldn't want that kind of life. Notice the shift. They cannot make you unsuccessful, so they try to make your success look undesirable. Why? Because pity is a psychological anesthetic. If they can convince themselves that your growth cost you your humanity, then they are no longer behind. They are balanced. They are normal. They are healthy. But this is how mediocrity protects itself, not by attacking greatness directly, but by associating greatness with emotional loss. Yes, sometimes the path of individuation is lonely. But loneliness is not always damage. Sometimes it is filtration. The final move is the most revealing: character distortion. When jealous people accept that they cannot outshine your work, cannot reduce your wins, cannot isolate you socially, they go after your identity. They rewrite your story. Suddenly your confidence becomes arrogance, your boundaries become cruelty, your focus becomes obsession, your privacy becomes manipulation, your ambition becomes greed, your calm becomes calculation. This is not disagreement. This is narrative warfare. And narrative warfare always depends on moral inversion. They need you to become the villain, because if you remain both competent and decent, their bitterness has nowhere to hide. So they construct a version of you that justifies their hostility. A colder version, a harsher version, an easier version to resent. Do not be surprised by this. People who cannot reach your level will often attempt to lower your image. It is cheaper than growth and faster than self-confrontation. Now comes the turning point, the part most people fail to master. The instinct of a wounded ego is to explain, to defend intentions, to correct the record, to force understanding. But a colder truth exists. Never fight for clarity in rooms committed to distortion. Why? Because reaction grants legitimacy. Explanation invites negotiation. Defense signals vulnerability, and jealous people feed on access. They want your words, your emotion, your attention, your participation. Do not give it. The higher principle is strategic indifference, not passivity, not weakness, but precision. You do not respond to every lie. You do not chase every rumor. You become unreachable, not physically, but psychologically. You stop auditioning for fairness. You stop performing innocence. You stop explaining your depth to people committed to surface. This is sovereignty. The moment your peace becomes more valuable than being understood. The moment your standards become immune to public confusion. Real power is not controlling what others say. Real power is no longer needing to participate in what they say. That is dominance. It is refusing to surrender your inner stability to noise. So here is the question. Are you willing to let them misunderstand you in order to protect your peace? Because if you are, then you have already stepped beyond their reach.